No, I'm okay. Thanks for the offer. So first, let me offer a quick prayer to my spiritual master. May I say something that pleases him. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Samanita Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharani Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Paskachade Satarani. Now, in the way of announcements, we have tomorrow, we're going to have a PowerPoint. It's the history, the appearance. It's a parikram around all, circumambulating Govardhan Hill. It's full of auspicious and fun things. So that will be tomorrow morning here at the temple at 7:45. Also, because I tend to lose track of time if I'm speaking. If somebody else is speaking, I note time carefully. Don't let me forget that from the Garga Samhita, I have a selections of the benefits of circumambulating, of going around Govardhan Hill. So I want to read those, all the different, this is Govardhan Hill. We're going to say something about it. And at the end of the thing, don't worry, I won't talk that long. And at the end, all of this prasadam, this packed up nice sweets and savories, they're distributed to the crowd. And it becomes quite a blissful scene. So, but before it turns into fast break spiritual basketball and everything goes... We were cleaning these chandeliers about 6 months ago, and we found some prasadam that was in the chandelier because it had been tossed, So it's a whole lot of fun, and we'll get there, don't worry. But when you go around, everyone should go around the hill 3 times clockwise. Okay? And you'll find out why in a moment. We'll get there in a moment. So I wanted to read, let me get situated here. I wanted to read a few verses from the Bhagavad Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, because what's this all about? We have people who are here for the first time, or, whatever. So what's going on here? And as soon as I can, now we've got the mic, let's see if we've got my glasses. Okay, we've crossed some major hurdles here. So this is from the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 2, text 31. Just to give a summary, a setting of what's going on here. When the cowherd men of Vrindavan, under the instruction of Krishna, stopped offering sacrifice to the heavenly king Indra, the whole tract of land known as Braj was threatened with being washed away by constant heavy rains for 7 days. You'll notice the thunderbolts here, and it's going on nicely. Lord Krishna, out of his causeless mercy upon the inhabitants of Braj, held up the hill known as Govardhan with one hand only, although he was only 7 years old. How old is your son? How old is he? Huh? Oh, he's 11. Do we have a 7-year-old in the house? How old are you? 9. All righty. Well, so much. You're 9. If you don't mind, stand up. We won't charge you extra. So this is 9. Imagine 7. And does anyone know what hand Krishna held the hill up with? Krishna is a transcendental show-off. You can sit down now, thanks. Cooperative kid. Will they get to be a teenager? That's another story. But so Krishna held up Govardhan Hill with what hand? Anybody know? Left hand. And why the left hand? Yeah, generally speaking, the left hand is weaker. And just to frost the cake, what finger of his... Yes, what finger? His little finger. Krishna didn't have to lift weights. He had practice. He had to, no. And we'll get into that in a moment. So now there's another verse. This is from the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Purana, chapter 2, text 33. King Indra, his honor being insulted, poured water incessantly on Vrindavan. And thus the inhabitants of Braj, the land of the cows, were greatly distressed. But the compassionate Lord Krishna saved them from danger with his pastime umbrella, the Govardhan hill. So that's the setting. That's what's going on here. Now, I wanted to, lest people think, we could, anybody, now that we can get in there, can we give this a pinch of volume? Don't turn it into the fear of God voice, but just a pinch, because I'm losing my voice and I'll run out halfway. Thanks, Prabhu. So, oh, I thought they had a cat. Oh, they don't have the key. C'est la vie. All right, so this talk, just so you can have a little focus, I was thinking about it. It's got a framework. So we've got 3 different segments, all right? So here's where we're going to go today. The first segment is the position of Krishna. Because people think, oh, it's folklore, it's, well, wishful thinking, and, it's anthropomorphism. And they have all these different ideas. But it's real. I was on a morning walk with Srila Prabhupada one time with a number of devotees. And on this walk, he was just chanting japa, just chanting on his beads, his mala. And out of the blue, he turned to us all and said, I know you're all atheists, but there really is Krishna. And turned right around and kept right on walking, So we have our tendency that, and it's because we've been burned so many times, what is it? Burnt once, twice shy, something like that. So we tend to be, well, it's a nice folklore, and my grandmother used to tell me these stories, or, whatever it is. But it's historical fact. And we're going to get into that, because we need to understand that. Otherwise, it's just sentiment, and what's the use of the whole? You can read about Paul Bunyan, or, I don't know, Aesop's fables. There's so many things you can read. So what's the difference here? So we're going to get into the Krishna's position. The other thing is, because there are acharyas, great teachers, who have written whole books on this Govardhan Leela. But we're going to take a few select elements and what we can learn from those. Okay? And then we're going to, so 1, Krishna's position. 2, a few elements. What do they signify? What can we learn from those elements of this pastime, this event? And then the last is a, well, what is our takeaway? When we walk out the door, what can we take home with us? Because that's the whole idea. Nice talk. What did he say? I can't remember a thing. Okay, well, you had a good time and got a nice feast out of it. But it's good if we can take home a few things to remember. And if we have enough time and you remind me, I have a nice joke that I think summarizes the mood of what where we're trying to get here. Okay, so now let the train begin. So first off, let's start at the beginning. Okay, Krishna's God, Ishvara Parama Krishna, we say that. But how, people say things are happening by chance. There's no rhyme, there's no reason, there's no designer. It's all just random chance. Toss of the coin, roll the dice a certain number of times, you're going to get certain numbers. So that's one way of seeing the world. There's another way to just see, there's a shining light, the absolute, the Brahman from which all things emanate. But it's just a shining, effulgent, blinding light. Is that the cause of all causes? Some people will say that there's the deist. The deist is you wind up a clock and then you let it run. So somebody had to wind up the clock. So God created the laws of physics and got everything rolling. But he doesn't intervene after that. God is very, very, very distant. And we have a sense of creatureliness. So many Christian theologians have this idea that we're very small and God is far away and we're sort of on our own here and like that. Then you've got a view that, it's kind of a punctuated intervention. By that I mean it's at different points. The Supreme Lord, Krishna, God, will intervene every now and then. It's called a miracle. There's the general flow of things, the laws of physics, everything's going on, it's wound up, it's going on. And then every now and then God intervenes. It's a punctuated intervention, so to speak. But we Vaishnavas, we have a different idea. What is it? Mata parataram nanyat kinchirasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam sutre mani gana iva. Krishna says in the Gita that all things are suspended on me. Hey, no hitting the hill till it's ready. And it's cheating principle. I know what you're doing. I know exactly what you're doing. That's why I said something. Oh, you're adding to. Oh, I take it back. I'm suspicious by nature. They say a blind man thinks other people are blind, so that's what I would be doing. So I juxtaposed it onto you. Sorry about that. Thank you. Now, where was I? So, that all, Krishna says in the Gita, that he's sustaining all things, that all things rest upon me like pearls on a thread. If you have a pearl necklace, you don't see the thread. That's the beauty of the thing, that you don't see the thread. But what happens if that thread is broken to your pearl necklace? It's all gone. So just because we can't see Krishna, and we'll get into that later on, it doesn't mean Krishna's not there. Are you guys comfortable? Too hot, too cold? Everybody's... No, I'm fine. I got a chador and a cap. I'm wondering about you. That's it. If your teeth start to chatter, we can shut the doors. So the point is that Krishna is the maintainer and sustainer of all things. And Krishna is... Prabhupada said Krishna has two eyes. Anyone know in the material world, in this universe, what are the two eyes of Krishna? Who said that? Way to go. Sun and the moon. One of them is always seeing all activities. Of course, I had a kid ask me one time, what about a moonless night? Okay, fine. It's a material example, but in generally speaking, Krishna sees everything, he witnesses everything, he sustains everything. Krishna says in the Gita, I am the ability in humankind, all of our intelligence, we can go on and on about that. So we Vaishnavas, we Krishna Bhaktas, we know that God is not distant, God is not a blind light, God is not, huge, and we're tiny, creatureless, but Krishna is intervening, acting, watching, maintaining at every single moment. And that's what and so he comes. Now you can say, God comes here? Oh, wait a minute. Do you expect me to believe that God can... Now, in the same sentence, they'll tell you that God is all-powerful. If they're a theist, God is omnipotent, all-powerful. He's omniscient. He knows all things. He's omnipresent. That's the basic tenets of any religious tradition, theistic tradition. Okay. But he can't have a spiritual form. Satchidananda, full of knowledge, intelligence, eternally full of knowledge and bliss. Satchidananda. Oh, he can't have a transcendental form. And he can't come here. He can't play with his devotees as a... No. He's all powerful, but then they say, but he can't do this, he can't do that, he can't do this, he can't do that. Then what is the meaning of God? Show me the seamless logic of that. So... that's a little setup that this pastime reveals how Krishna is intimately and consistently and constantly involved in this world and protecting his devotees, caring for and maintaining his devotees. What is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita? That Krishna and Arjuna are all one? And actually Krishna is just the higher intelligence, and Arjuna is the self, and the Pandavas are the five senses, and Kurukshetra means the body? Is that the conclusion of the Gita? That's all rubbish. It's all mental speculation. What is the conclusion of the Gita? Just surrender unto me. Okay, fine. He says sarva dharma, all, yoga and jnana, and this. What is the apex of all those things? To just develop pure love and surrender to Krishna. We'll get into that more in a second. But he says, sarva dharma, parityaja, give up all your different rituals and all of that, and just surrender to me. All right. Is it a one-way street? Anyone know the English of the next part of that verse? Verse 65 in Bhagavad Gita. Why should I surrender to Krishna? I surrendered to so many people. I surrendered my wife, and she dumped me for the dentist next door. Whatever it may be, Why surrender to Krishna? Why? What is the other side of that equation? Sarvadharma prityaja mami kam saranambraja aham tam. Not you. Oh, you said? Yeah, we want different people. So, okay, you're fine. You're fresh face.
Don't fear.
Okay, don't fear. All right, that's all right. I can blindly not fear about things. A fool can, walk off a roof and think gravity's not going to affect him. It's right. It's in the verse. Don't fear, don't hesitate. Masucha, don't fear, don't hesitate, don't be in anxiety. Different meanings of that word. But what does Krishna guarantee? If you surrender unto me, I will protect you. So this pastime is confirmation of how Krishna protects his devotees. Whatever happens, you just surrender to Krishna. We're going to bounce around a bit, but that's okay. I'll try to stay on course. Now you're asking me to accept that the all-powerful Supreme Lord, cause of all causes, Brahmaneti, Bhagavaneti, Brahmaneti, Paramaneti, Bhagavaneti, Shabhyate. All aspects of the absolute truth culminate in a transcendental form? Oh, come on. Wishful thinking. Now, let me ask you a question. Who in this room, because we're saying that the Supreme Lord, who's present everywhere and sustaining all things, has a spiritual form, form means localized, and is all-powerful simultaneously. All-pervasive and localized and all-powerful. That's a lot to swallow. What is something that we see, especially in San Diego, practically every day that confirms this? Anybody else in the back row? No, you're on. Who said? Hey, what'd you say? Way to go, man. 10 points for you. Huh? We'll get there in a minute. So the sun, we see the sun. It's shining everywhere, isn't it? It's all pervasive. The sun sustains all life. Even your petroleum or coal and all that. Ultimately, that comes from biomass that was sustained by the sun. Everything is sustained by the sun. So it's sustaining all things, all pervasive. But can you point to the sun? You can put, there it is. It's right there in the sky. Well, not now, but obviously. But you can point to the sun. So there is something that's localized, all pervasive, and sustaining all things. And we know, especially from the Vedic literature, and Carl Sagan will tell you the same thing. Of course, I don't know if Carl's around anymore. But you're trying to tell me that there's millions of suns, billions of suns. So the creator of all those, that which the sun can do, of which there are billions, and of which he is the cause of and the creator of those billions of suns cannot do what one sun globe does? Help me out with the seamless logic here. The creator of unlimited suns, and the sun can be all-pervasive, sustain all things, and be localized at the same time. Oh, but God can't do that. Although he created it, he can't do it. Help me out with the seamless logic. So yes, Krishna is sustaining all things. Yes, Krishna is inside every atom. Yes, Krishna is in everyone's heart. And simultaneously he has a sublime transcendental form. And just to double down on it, I'm thinking about the time. Just to double down. Should God, this is anthropomorphism. I'm a young man, well not now, but I'm a young man. I had a father. My father's a little older and creakier than me. I got a grandfather who's got gray hair. Now if I extrapolate, I keep on going, because Krishna, God, is the father of all fathers, right? Cause of all causes. He's the Adi Purusha, the original person. So let's just go back. My father's old, my grandfather's older, my great-grandfather must be older. So God, if you go all the way back, must be an old man with a beard, bad knees, not in a very happy mood. You tick him off, he's going to throw a thunderbolt, or he's going to turn you into a pillar of salt. Or, it's just, don't mess with him. He's not in a good mood because he's an old geezer. I mean, I'm joking, but it's the idea. Why should God? Krishna says, what is it? Purana Purusham. That Krishna is the oldest person. Brahma Samhita. Purana Purusham. And the very next line says, Nava Yovanam Cha. Simultaneously, he has a fresh youth. Just like the creator of the sun can have the powers of the sun, the source of all beauty should be a wrinkled old man with bad knees. Why? Shouldn't the source of all beauty be all attractive? Isn't that seamless logic? So Krishna appears and he says, Krishna has a transcendental sublime form, Shamasundar, Govinda, Gopal, which is all attractive. And that is how it should be. That is logical. It's not wishful thinking. It's not sentiment. It's consistent logic. Now, one last thing. God can come here? What? Even a mundane governor can go into the jail and not become a prisoner. Now, some may counter that he should become a prisoner, but that's a political issue we won't go into. But the governor can come in and out. In fact, he can pardon people, isn't it? So how can the cause of all causes of this creation, if a mundane governor, who's our governor now? What's his name? Yeah, Newsom. So Newsom, he can walk into San Quentin and walk out. And Krishna can't come to this material world and not be contaminated, not be untouched, be completely, and come and go as he likes, and pardon us who are in it? Why? If a mundane person can do that, how can the Supreme, all-powerful, not be able to do that? So help me out with seamless logic. So the idea is, I hope that when we're going to go on and talk about Krishna, we understand that Krishna is the supreme cause of all causes, the all-powerful, and yet he plays as a small boy, beautiful, all-attractive boy, just to give protection to his devotees. And it makes complete sense. It is not sentiment. In fact, it is the only logical answer. That's a whole other thing, but we can get in. It's the only logical answer. Okay, so looking at the, wow. Just one last thing. Krishna's lifting Govardhan hill with his little finger. You expect me to believe that? Now Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, that he is the cause and creator of all planets. So the cause, if we accept that there's a cause, which we've tried to establish in the beginning, that cause of all causes is sustaining unlimited planets. I mean, it's all floating on gravity. That's a whole other issue, but okay, so many planets whizzing around in the sky, floating. They don't crash into each other. They don't all implode. That cause of all causes, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, he can't lift a little hill. He's lifting unlimited planets, but he can't lift a hill. Again, seamless logic. It doesn't actually make sense that Krishna lives, that he has a transcendental form, and he protects his devotees, and he lifts Govardhan hill. I should do it like this. Completely makes sense if you look at it as a holistic picture. So, now, one of the principles of Govardhan Hill, an overarching principle, is Krishna always protects his devotees. And here's a perfect manifestation. The rain is pouring down on Govardhan Hill. So you think about it, if rain's pouring down, it must be flooding off. The inhabitants of Vrindavan are underneath. Well, okay, fine. It's still going to get, and the wind's blowing and so many things. Seshanaga, Balaram Seshanaga, expanded and made a moat, made a wall, a dike, all around Govardhan Hill, so it was nice and dry. All the water was on the outside. And Krishna's Sudarshan Chakra, unlimitedly potent, powerful heat, dried up all the water. So they were very warm and cozy and protected by Krishna's arrangement over. Don't worry, there was no problem under Govardhan Hill. So, what was I going to say? Oh, so we can depend on Krishna. In fact, if you think about it, what else can we depend on? Can we depend on this body? It grows old, it becomes diseased, dust to dust, ashes to ashes, especially when you get older. You get out of bed, whoop, what happened to my knee? Well, Got a well, what happened to my back? What happened? What? Hearing went out, You can't actually count on this body. I'll give you a simple thing. I used to be in Michigan, at our temple in Michigan. We were distributing books at colleges in Ohio. They sometimes even, it's called the, tornado something. There's like a valley. Alley. Thank you, Tornado Alley. So it even goes up to Ohio. There was a place called Xenia, Ohio, believe it or not. And it was hit by a tornado. And it was so far out. That was before computer times. We actually bought a newspaper to see some of it was just amazing, the strength of that thing. But there was a lady, an old lady. The tornado's coming, right? And her roof's starting to creak. The house is starting to shake. She called 911 for police. She's on 911 on hold, and she saw a police car with 2 policemen in it, 6 feet off the ground and spinning. She just put the phone down. She said, they got their own problems. They're not going to come help me. 911 is not going to do me any good. So, that's an extreme example. But really, if we think about it, what is the Buddhist? And it comes from the Vedic literature. Nothing is certain but change. Krishna says, time I am the destroyer of all things. So what can we depend on? Again, the logical conclusion is to depend on Krishna. That's the only constant who actually controls all things. It's the only logical thing. So that's one of the themes of Govardhan Hill. And I am looking at time. I think we're going to go a few minutes over, but that'll be all right. Every story, every event, in order to be attractive, you got to have a hero and an anti-hero. Anyone know who the anti-hero of Govardhan Leela is? Lord Indra. Although he's a devotee, but he forgets sometimes. And Prabhupada makes the point, Srila Prabhupada makes the point that this pastime shows the danger of anger. Passion killings, people will just lose their temper, road rage. There's a man who comes to the temple, and he's in charge of a whole bunch of teams that clean up the freeway under the Caltrans. They're out there picking up trash, they're doing whatever. There's something called a chucker. You know what a chucker is? Well, there's many different means. But people get so angry. They're on their phone, they're driving their car, they get some bad news. They're so frustrated, out of anger, they throw their phones out the window. It happens regularly. The guys clean his teams, and they're in the south part of the San Diego County. They get 5 to 10 phones a day that people got so fried they threw their phone out the window. They go, we got another checker, and people will call in sheepishly, a couple of, did you find a phone on I-5 So, we just get overwhelmed by anger. It shows the loss of it, and anger comes from attachment. Krishna describes from attachment, from lust comes attachment. From contemplation of the senses, attachment develops. From attachment comes lust. From frustration of lust comes anger. From anger comes bewilderment of memory. Everything's in Bhagavad Gita. Everything's explained. So one of the benefits, just a side benefit of bhakti, when we learn to just depend on Krishna, and what is it? Yokeshmam Bahamyaham, Krishna preserves what we have, He brings what we lack. If we're not passionately attached to more stuff, it helps us control anger. If we don't, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street, more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, yet ready to offer our respects to others, in such a state of mind one can chant the holy name constantly. So if one's absorbed in the service and the thoughts of Krishna, one becomes freed from anger. And here's all the benefit. Here's just one of the losses, one of the things. You completely bewilderment of a memory and get yourself into a real mess, as King Indra did. Here's another thing that about Indra. Maybe we're not as important. You're all humble Vaishnavas, you're here. I can speak for myself and the rest of the world. Maybe Indra thought he was the top of the pile. right? Everyone serves me. Everyone's under. I am Indra, the king of heaven. And these little cowherd boys and cowherd men, they haven't honored me properly. And he went, I'm going to show them who's who. That was his mood. But what happened? Well, I guess I'll say it. The residents of Braj saw it when the Samvatarka and all the giant hills and wind and giant clouds and wind and rain are pounding Vrindavan. Of course, they're protected by Seshanaga and the chakra and Krishna holding the hill. But they saw Indra coming. Indra wanted to see, how's it going? Have they accomplished my task? And he was ready to finish off the job. And he went to raise his hand. No, here's what happened. They saw him, and then he disappeared. Indra came, and then disappeared. Anyone know why Indra disappeared? Because he tried to raise his hand to throw a thunderbolt. He could not even lift his hand. He could not even move an inch. He was so ashamed and defeated, he just left in despair. So he thought he was a big deal. We all think we're big. You can't treat me like that, and don't you know who I am, and I deserve this, and God, where are you? Why didn't I get a parking spot? Whatever it is. But who are we, really? We're certainly not Indra. We're not even. So it's also that to sort of remember who we are. We're completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. This is not to give anybody low self-esteem and you have to go into therapy. I'm not talking about that, But we should have a healthy... There used to be saying that if somebody's humble, and then they say, and they've got much to be humble about. So if we should remember who we are. And then we don't get so caught in anger and pride and envy and all the stuff that churns the mind and causes distress. One last thing about Indra, and I think we'll get close to wrapping up. Indra, as I said in the beginning, Indra is a devotee. So Krishna wanted to help him. Not only, Krishna is Karuna Sindhu. He's an ocean of mercy. Krishna is Bhaktavatsal. He's always serving and trying to help his devotees. So this pastime was not that, it was a power trip and Krishna wanted to show Indra who was who. And it was a battle of mights and Krishna won. That's not what's going on here. I mean, that's the visual result. But really, Krishna wants to help everyone. And especially for devotees. Why do we sometimes have difficulties? Why don't we get exactly what we want? Prabhupada gives the example. Everyone is asking God for things. Prabhupada gives the example that the shopkeeper goes home at night. He's got a little shop, bodega, whatever it may be. He goes home, puts his head on his pillow, and just before he goes off to the land of Z's, what happens? Did I lock the back door? Jeez, I hope I didn't lock. Oh, please, God, please, I hope I don't steal everything. Okay, so that's how the shopkeeper, and Krishna's getting a message from that shopkeeper, please protect me, make sure my door's locked. Simultaneously, the thief, in difficulty, let's give him a little benefit, somehow or other he got laid off, dropped down a shaft, no way to feed his children, whatever. So he's turned to thieving. Now when he goes at night, what is he praying to God for? Oh, please, God, I hope the shopkeeper left his door open. So Krishna's getting one appeal, is the door locked? He's getting another appeal, leave the door open. Prabhupada said, in this way, Krishna's perplexed. So everybody's praying to God, give me this, I want, I need, so many different things, And so sometimes as a devotee, we think, devotee, depending how you want to say it, we're thinking, well, where's God? Where's Krishna? What's going on here? Why is this happening? I'm a good person. But just like Lord Indra, Krishna's duty is to bring us to pure spiritual consciousness, to bring out our bhav, or our love, because that's what's going to make us happy. As I said, if we take shelter of Krishna, then everything's resolved. So Krishna is helping all of us. And sometimes, just like a sculptor, he's got to chip away some marble, he's got to do this. A good doctor doesn't say, eat any damn thing you like, sleep, and no worries. And by all means, don't eat, just sit in front of the cable TV. Is that a good doctor? You go to every time I wouldn't be here without modern science and Krishna's mercy, of course. And they're always saying, well, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, well, don't do this, are you exercising? But is the guy just a sadist who's trying to make me miserable? I often wonder, but no, they're trying to help me. So Krishna is in the heart of everyone. Bhavagrahi Janardanam, Krishna knows everyone's heart. And Krishna came to save Indra. Indra's overwhelmed with pride. He's committing offenses to all the habits of Vrindavan. He thinks he's got reign over everything. I mean, he's even assaulted different rishis' wives. I mean, so many things. Krishna finally said, I've got to help him. And just cut down his pride and pull the weeds out of his heart. So Krishna can sometimes deal firmly with us, just like a good parent. But it's not cruelty. It's the curative, Prabhupada says in one purport, it's the therapeutic, curative, beneficial hand of the all-merciful Lord. I'm going to say that one more time. For a devotee, Krishna intervenes, just like he intervened here, to save Indra. So Prabhupada calls it the therapeutic, curative, beneficial hand of the all-merciful Lord. So that's a little idea of, Krishna's working in his own way to purify our heart and ultimately give us pure devotion to him. So I think we can... People say, we're going to wrap up in a minute. People say, hey, he's got his eyes, he's getting in the pole position there. Sorry, don't worry. People tell me all the time, I pray to God. Here's your takeaway. Here's something to take home with you. Oh, I pray to God. Okay. Everybody prays to God. I mean, every atheist in a foxhole, when the bombs are coming down. Prabhupada tells a joke about a man's working on his roof, and he starts to slide off the roof. He says, oh, God, please save me. Please, God, I'll change my ways. He gets just about to go off the roof, and his pants catch on a nail. And he thinks, man, I was lucky that nail was there. He doesn't think, who put the nail there? How did my pants manage to catch it? How did it manage to... All that, God's out of the picture. Man, I was lucky, and forgets all about it, So everybody prays to God, or most people pray to God when they're in distress. So again, God getting these, the thief, please leave the door unlocked. Oh, please lock the door. So everybody's praying to God. But what is the mood of Braj, of Vrindavan, of pure devotional service as we see here? What is the mood? Prabhupada said, and I'm not criticizing, and Prabhupada doesn't criticize, the Mahavakya, one of the cornerstone prayers of Christian tradition is, Our Father art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as in heaven, like that. But it says, give us this day our daily bread. So we're praying to God, please give me bread. Prabhupada said, that's a good thing. At least we're recognizing the source, that I'm dependent on Krishna for bread. But Prabhupada said it's not really love of God, it's love of bread. So, but what is Mother Yasoda thinking? So they're saying, please God, feed me or I'm going to die. Please, God's the big Amazon in the sky. Whatever I want, he's got to send to me. And it better be by Prime, and it better be one-day delivery. Or I'm beginning an atheist. So, but what is the mood of Braj? This pastime, what do we see? What is the mood of Braj? Mother Yasoda is thinking. What is Mother Yasoda thinking? This is Damodar, the month of Damodar, with the Krishna tying Krishna to the boil, to the mortar because the milk was boiling over. What is Mother Yasoda thinking? One group is thinking, God, give me bread or I will die. What is Mother Yasoda thinking? Who said, if I don't feed Krishna, I have to feed Krishna. She's not thinking about herself and, is it low-fat milk? She's not thinking any of that stuff. The whole mood is how to please Krishna. So people say, show me God. If God's there, just show up. Well, who are you? Who are we? And we don't really mean it. Suppose I don't believe in Biden, Joe Biden. Show up here. If Joe Biden shows up, I'll believe he's the president. Well, I mean, he doesn't even know I exist. I'm kind of glad he doesn't. But that's another issue. At least the IRS doesn't know. So but my spiritual master used to say, back to the point of everyone prays to God to give things. People say, oh, I pray to God. I always ask them, a little gently, but what are you doing for God? Praying to God is easy, but what are you doing? So my spiritual masters say, here's your takeaway. Don't act in such a way. Do you need a chair? I think you guys need a... All right, whatever. Don't try to force your way to God. But what is the secret? If you want it, we want to see God, prove yourself, show yourself. What's the secret? Act in a way that Krishna wants to come see you. If Joe Biden wants to see me, I mean, the black helicopter shows up, the Delta Force comes down, and zing, I'm off, you know. I'm in an undisclosed location, you know. He has no problem seeing me. But if I want to see him, so if we have the mood of Braj, let me just serve Krishna, then Krishna will reveal himself. And Krishna is the best and only shelter, and that is manifest by this Govardhan hill. So weaken in there. We're not going to tell the joke. We'll do that some other time because of the time factor. But I should read from the Garga Samhita the benefits of going around Govardhan hill to inspire all of you with bad knees or too lazy or got a comfortable. Go around this hill 3 times. It has many benefits. And this is from the Garga Samhita. Yeah. And this hill, we did the puja. You saw this hill is actually infused with Govardhan hill. It's none different than Govardhan hill. So you go around it, you get the full benefit of these things. And this is Narada Muni is speaking to a great king, Mahalasva, and as narrated by Garga Muni in the Garga Samhita. Okay, we'll go through this quickly. There are so many tirthas, holy places on Govardhan hill. All the main tirthas are on Govardhan hill. All the Chaturdhams, the 4 Chaturdhams, with Badrinath, Jagannath Puri, Rameshwaram, and Dwarka. So all the 4 Chaturdhams are represented. They're on Govardhan hill. You can visit them on Govardhan hill. So, you know, trekking all the way up to Badrinath and the Himalayas, no, you can just go around Govardhan hill. You accomplish the whole thing. So, you get the benefit of visiting all the holy tirthas in one shot by going around Govardhan hill 3 times. You immediately attain Goloka at the end of this life. You gain a 4-handed form of Narayan, you know, Sarup Siddhi. You'll never fall from the spiritual world. All success, materially and spiritually. Srinathji, Gopalji, is on top of Govardhan hill, so circumambulating Govardhan hill. You can see that the Gopal's temple is still there. It was Aurangzeb, when he attacked everything, they moved him, and ultimately he wound up in Nathdwar. But originally he was in Gopal. He's on top of Govardhan hill. You're free from taking birth again. You get the benefit, like I said, of visiting all the holy mountains, Kedarnath, Kailash, all the holy mountains, because Govardhan is the king of all holy mountains. You receive the result of perfection in all pious deeds, austerity, yoga, and the sum total of understanding all the Vedas. Sound worth a trip 3 times? I think so. Okay, so we'll end there. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Govardhan Hill Ki Jai. And our Master of Ceremonies will tell us what happens next. Well, what happens, we all get up, we have kirtan, we go around the hill 3 times minimum. I don't think it's cumulative. I don't think each time you get a better, I think 3 times was sufficient. And then we distribute the hill. And then after that, we have a fantastic feast. Yeah. My spiritual master said that our whole Hare Krishna movement is simply recreation.